Welcome, everybody, to episode 91 of Disney with the Ducks. Tonight, you've got me, John Kral, and I've got three of my other favorite members of our flock with me tonight. We've got Mean Gene.
Howdy.
Jody.
Hi, friends.
And Kevin.
Hey, everybody.
All right. So we want to remind everybody tonight before we get going, please go out to your podcatcher and give us a 5-star review. Write something good about how much you love us, and we'll read it on a future episode if you guys take the time to give us a review. But also the 5-star reviews will help other people find us. They'll help the algorithm send people our way. So, if you think about Disney and your Alexa device is within 100 yards of you, it'll catch that and it'll start sending you our episodes. So we can do that for all your friends as well. All right. So tonight, before we get going, we want to talk about a question to get to know each other and get to know, so our listeners get to know us a little bit better. Tonight's question is going to be, what is your favorite genre of book to read? Jody, let's go with you, because I have a feeling you probably have something in mind already.
I do. I really love reading. And now that it's daylight savings and it's dark at, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, all I want to do is curl up with a book and read. But I love historical fiction. It's my favorite. I tend to read a lot of it. I try to break it up because sometimes I'm like, have I already read this one before? Because I read so much of it. But historical fiction is definitely my favorite. Doesn't really matter what era of history. I like them all because I like that little nugget of history, but then the kind of the pretend part of it too, like made up characters who are living their lives during that time. So that's my favorite.
Would you consider like Dan Brown as historical fiction? Like the guy who did Da Vinci Code and Angels, what's it called?
Angels and Demons.
Yeah, Angels and Demons and stuff like that. The Last Symbol. No, you haven't read those? Oh my God, they're amazing.
There's another guy that's does that kind of stuff. Preston, two guys that together they do that same kind of thing. John, they take something historical, the Amber Room. I don't know if that was one of them, but one of those, something like that, and they build a story around it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I gotta check that. I love, I wouldn't say I'm into historical fiction, but I love Dan Brown's books because they have a lot of like stuff about the Illuminati and just different like the Masons and all kind of different things throughout history. It's really fun. It's really fun to read, but I need to get more into historical fiction.
I made a mistake last week before the marathon. I started reading a book that was more like a thriller, which was not good when you're trying to calm yourself down and get to bed and relax and make sure that you're getting a good night's sleep. That's not a good choice, because then I'd be like laying awake at night thinking, oh, wait, did I think that person do it? Oh, wait, what is it? That character? Oh, I was trying to solve the mystery the whole time. And that do not recommend before bed. But
it's a good tip. Just like movies. I'm the same way with movies.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch Mission Impossible right before you try to go to bed.
Yeah. No.
You're too pumped up. All right. Kevin, what's your favorite type of book or genre of book to read?
I love, just like Jody, I'm a big fan of historical fiction. Mine is usually a little bit longer ago and far, far away. Most of mine is Star Wars books. So I've read a few.
Fiction.
It's historical fiction. It was a long time ago.
Galaxy far away, yeah.
Nobody really knows if it happened or not. It could have happened. I mean, George Lucas said it did. So,
yeah.
But no, I mean, even the old non-canon books, I still read those some. And my kids have gotten into that too, and that's a lot of fun. And of course, comic books. So all that kind of ties, science fiction kind of stuff is my jam. I really enjoy reading about that kind of thing and technology and things like that. So
cool. I mean, I'm not at all surprised that you like Star Wars books. So I don't think any of our listeners are either.
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right.
There's some really good ones out there.
Is that so? Okay. So I think you had told us about a couple before, but what's your favorite?
My favorite Star Wars book?
Yeah. So your favorite Star Wars book for someone who may not be quite as into it as you. Do you have one?
Ahsoka is really good. Oh. The Ahsoka book is really good. Master and Apprentice is good, and Shadow of the Sith is really good. It fills in the gaps between when Rey was a child which is really good. If you like the sequel or the sequel trilogy, and you want to know more about Rey, you can read Shadow of the Sith, and it explains what happened to Rey and her parents and what Luke Skywalker was doing all that time. It's pretty interesting.
Nice. All right, I want to check that one out because I like Rey a lot and like that whole timeline and story and everything. So cool. All right, Gene, what do you got? What's your favorite genre?
My favorite genre of book is the movie based on the book. No, I'm just joking. I have a lot of hobbies. I have a lot of interest in other areas, and so it makes a lot of sense that I wouldn't just have one favorite genre of book. I kind of bounce between things. I've read a lot of historical fiction, a lot of nonfiction history, a lot of theology, a lot of thrillers, spy novels. I was into Tom Clancy at one time. I just read another John Grisham book not too long ago, and so I just kind of bounce around. I don't read as much as I used to. I used to read all the time. I was a kid that I read everything. I was, kids get in trouble for having a phone or a tablet at the table. I got in trouble for having a book all the time. My nose, my family said that all the time. My nose was always in a book. My wife, funny enough, is like that today. She reads, like, I would describe her as a voracious reader. There's days where she'll get a book and, she'll between work, she'll pick up a book and read for 10 or 15 minutes, or, if she doesn't have, she's got her work finished, she'll just read and just read and read. And she listens too, like when she exercises. The other day she said, hey, I'm going for a walk. You won't see me for a while. I just got Brittany's new book.
Me too.
Yeah. So, but she listens to mostly thrillers, but she'll listen to the Juicy Brittany book, or, Jessica Simpson had a book, at one point, that kind of stuff.
Nice. Oh man. I along with Gene, I also do not have one favorite genre, as people may have guessed. But for similar reasons, because I have a lot of different hobbies and stuff, a lot of things I'm into. So I love reading books about music, about baseball, about history. I don't read a ton of fiction. I actually lately I don't read at all. I listen, everything I do is audiobooks now because I just have.
Oh, come on. We know you're reading How Now, Brown Cow, and Good Night Moon, and Dr. Seuss's Sleep Book. That's in your repertoire.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, The Places You Go and Redfish, Bluefish. But no,
I think that I saw it on Mulberry Street.
I don't have an abundance of time, but I love learning things. So I do a lot of audiobooks. My favorite though is like biographies. I just love learning about people and how they have lived their life, and a lot of the biographies and memoirs and stuff, people will share kind of the mistakes they've made and how that's shaped their life. And I like to learn about people. Like even right now, I mean, Gene, you mentioned the Brittany book. I just got that and the Matthew Perry book, which I was planning to get the Matthew Perry one before he passed because I love Friends, and Chandler is one of my favorite characters. I mean, there's only 6 of them, right? So it's like they're all your favorite characters at some point or another. But yeah, so I love that kind of stuff. But I've gone through phases where I was really into for about 3 years. I was really into baseball biographies, and like the book about Lou Gehrig was amazing. And like there was a Joe DiMaggio's 56 game hitting streak. There was a whole book about that. It's just that stuff fascinates me, and I don't really know why.
That's
but
cool stuff.
it is. It's just fun to know things, and yeah. So I would say if I had to pick one, I'm going with biographies and memoirs as my favorite. But yeah.
Cool.
Hey,
okay. Follow up. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Gene.
No, you go ahead, please, Jody.
I was going to say, here's my follow-up question. Do you listen? Are you a Kindle or online reader, or a paper book? Like you have to touch a book reader. What type of reader are you? Because I consider them all reading, whether you listen to an audiobook or you download a book and you read it on a screen, or whether you hold a book.
Okay, I'll start. I'm going to say my preference is a physical book. I love like everything about it. I like the feel. I like the weight of it. I like, after you've been reading for an hour, you have this much over on this side, and, it, and you can kind of feel the shift of pages from the right to the left. The smell of it, just everything. I just love it. But I don't have time. So everything I do now is listening while I'm doing dishes or listening while I'm doing laundry or running. So I'd say, I prefer a physical copy, but I can't do the iPad reading. I've tried and it just doesn't work for me.
What about you, Gene?
Yeah. So the only time I read a physical book generally is if I'm reading, on vacation or something like that outside, because I can't find. You guys will understand this when you're a little older. I can't seem to find enough light to read a book. Like in my room, I can turn the overhead lamp on. Have I shown you guys my glasses that have
You
the
have,
lights
yeah.
on?
Those are
So
amazing.
I've gotten a book light, that works okay, but it's just not the same. I would rather the feel of a book, but I just can't see it as well. If I guess I could have light bright enough, but then it'd blind everybody in the house, or my wife when she's trying to just read. But yeah, so I just use the Kindle app on my iPad. And remind me, I want to ask you about how you access some books here in a little bit.
All right, Kevin, what about you?
So I definitely, for like a classic book, I'd rather read it on paper. But any of the newer books in Star Wars, I don't typically have the time to read like a physical copy of a book, so I typically will listen as well. And one of the things that I really enjoy in the audiobook side for at least Star Wars, they have lots of really good actors that read it. And there's a lot of background, noise and, music and things like that make it more like listening to a movie. But you can kind of picture it, the narrators and all. There's some really good ones. Mark Thompson's one of the best. He can do voices from about every character. And it really makes you feel like you're there, and I really enjoy that. If I'm reading a comic book, it has to be on the iPad because of the way it will zoom in automatically. Like the Marvel app has the technology where it will zoom in frame by frame and guide you through the comic, which is really cool. And that way I don't have to wear readers because it zooms in enough and there's plenty of light. So a little bit of everything, but mostly audiobooks.
I drive a lot, and I didn't mention this, but I like the idea of an audiobook. I didn't talk about audiobooks, but my problem is my mind wanders or something happens and I realize that I just listened to 30 minutes and I don't know what was said.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
And so it doesn't happen when I'm running though, because I'm so zoned in. I like books when I run. Actually, a really good book will get me through tough runs better than a podcast, or I don't even listen to music. I like music, but I don't listen to music when I run anymore. I have it in here.
Switching the songs, and you don't have to worry about finding another podcast or going to another episode. It's just the book is normally plenty long to cover whatever run you're doing. So
yeah.
And it keeps you at the right pace. I found when I listen to music, something with a high beat per minute comes on, and then I start running too fast, and then I'm tired.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
that's a great point. So I don't know if you guys use your library, but like a lot of libraries have books that you can check out online, ebooks or audiobooks. But there's also through my app, you might use it too. But the Hoopla app, it's great. I have one of my favorites that it made me think of you when you said this. You said books about baseball. There's a baseball one too, but it's called How Football Explains America. And it's really neat because it's his history, but it's, it talks about the military and sort of the culture in America and how that and football and there's one about baseball too, how they kind of, I don't know, how they're interwoven. It's just really interesting.
Oh, cool. I love that kind of stuff. Like I read a book like about the Tigers and the 68 riots and stuff in Detroit and how that was all kind of interwoven. And I don't know. I just find it really fascinating. It's cool.
Libraries are awesome.
Yeah, Hoopla is awesome because it's all free, right?
Yeah.
Like I use Audible a lot because a lot of times with Hoopla, I want to listen to newer books and they're just, you have a waiting period because they only have X number of digital copies or audio copies. So I use Audible and I even buy books on Apple sometimes, but I've kind of shifted to Audible.
Are you familiar with Blinkist?
No.
Yeah, so I'd heard of it before, probably heard of it on a podcast, but my company gives us a subscription. I have no idea how much it costs, but it's summaries of books. And so like the business books and self-help books and things like that, which I love the idea of, but I get to a certain point in a business book and I'm done because I get it. You don't have to give me another analogy. You don't, I get it. I understand the point you're trying to make. And, and there's a lot of books like that. And it's neat because you can pick, even though this is through work, there's history and there's a lot of different things, but it gives you they're all supposed to be like 15 minutes. There's some that are like 17, but it's a 15-minute summary of a book. And you can make a decision at that point if, hey, yeah, that's enough for me, or that's something I want to dive into a little bit more. So that's kind of a cool thing.
That is cool. Although I could find myself doing that instead of reading a lot of the books as a nice little shortcut.
Well, you can get more done.
That's true.
And you can decide which ones are worth a deeper dive,
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Well, I think that was a really good discussion about books. And I know a lot of us mentioned different historical things, whether historical fiction or just history in general. We're going to go back in Disney history and start talking about some of the Disney movies from the beginning. So Disney's first movie came out in 1937 with Snow White. So we're going to look at from Snow White through the end of the 50s and talk about some of our favorites and what we think might be overrated or underrated in terms of the movies that that Disney came out with during that time period. So let's start off with talking about what do we think is our favorite movie from that first period, like say the early portion from 37 to like 1949. Jody, do you have a favorite?
I've got a couple favorites.
Okay.
It's hard. So there were actually, just FYI, if my fact sheet is correct, there were 43 films from the start of from Snow White to the end of 1959, which if you think about it during that time, how they made films and things, then that's pretty impressive. I think, at least. I mean, 43 films during that time, I think is really, really impressive. I have to admit that there were some of them I had absolutely no clue what they were. I didn't know if they were cartoons or if they were live action, or sometimes combinations of both. So there's some of them that I did not know, and I didn't sit there and research them all. So, but for me, there are probably two in here that are in my all-time favorite Disney movies ever, which is when I looked at the era and I realized how old they were, I was pretty surprised that they still are my favorites given all the things that we've changed over the years. So my two that I'm going to have to go with, 1955 classic Lady and the Tramp. One of my very, very favorite movies. Absolutely love it. Even the animation in it and the dogs and the music, the boom, 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 rough. I love that song. I like, everything about that one is high on my list. And then from 1959, Sleeping Beauty, which I've talked about 1,000,001 times. I won't talk about it, why I love it so much anymore, but those are probably on my list, my two favorite. And it was kind of hard because there's quite a few on there that are awesome, but those are probably going to be my two faves.
So, okay. So let's see. Lady and the Tramp, I've never seen. I mean, maybe when I was a kid or something, but I've just never seen that movie. And now I feel like, I don't know, it doesn't sound that interesting to me. Two dogs falling in love. So Jody,
they have the spaghetti and the kiss with the spaghetti.
Well, yeah, I know that part of the movie, and I know that one is a lady and one is a tramp. So like the other side of the tracks type of story, and that type of thing. But
there's also friendship.
All I know.
There's two other dogs, and there's a friendship, and they're like, they judged him, and they thought he was and then they realized he wasn't that bad. I mean, there's some good deeper meaning in there, John. You got to watch it. Your kids actually really like it.
Where they're at some point there's a farm and the dogs bark to each other and it gets the message.
No, that's 101 Dalmatians.
It is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's been a while.
Another dog movie.
Another dog movie. So keep going. Sorry.
You should watch it. I think your kids would actually really like it. It's not, the animation is obviously not as sharp as it is now, but it's not long. It's not a really long movie. So
Oh yeah, that's one of the good things I think about some of these older movies is they're
Mhm.
like 60 to 90 minutes even, which it fits my attention span much more than 3 hours. Because and my lifestyle, because sometimes if like in these Marvel movies now, I can watch half of one day and half of one the next. It gets too late for the kids and just But we've been watching a lot of Snow White actually. My kids have been into Snow White and Sleeping Beauty lately. Yeah. I know, and Sleeping Beauty is like I forgot how good that movie is until we started watching again recently because Chelsea's gotten into it. The scene with what's the prince's name? Philip?
yep.
And
His
when
horse's
he's
name is Samson, in case you need to know.
his what?
His horse's name is Samson.
Oh, good. Well, when Phil and Sam are out there fighting Maleficent and she's a dragon and he's got his shield, it's really cool.
Yeah.
But that's another one you don't want to watch right before bed with a
I was
5-year-old.
gonna say, actually, some of these, when I was looking through this, there are some scary or
Yeah.
kind of freaky parts in some of these movies, but we'll get to that later. So those are my answers. Those are my two favorites.
Okay, well, I think those are really good choices. Like I said, I don't know anything about Lady and the Tramp, but now I want to check it out.
You should watch it.
All right. Kevin, what are you thinking? Do you have a couple favorites on the list?
So I picked one from kind of each decade, and the two that I picked are Pinocchio and Alice in Wonderland. I love Alice in Wonderland. You know, Alice in Wonderland came out in 1951, but the story was written in 1865, which
I didn't know that.
if you think about the story of that, this is like right at the end of the Civil War. And you know, this is London, England, and you know, it was so far ahead of its time. I mean, the going into different dimensions and things like that, it's just like that seems like something that would come out today, you know, with sci-fi and everything like that. But it was, you know, just really I think it was way ahead of its time with some of the ideas that it had, and you know, going to the different land and seeing the, you know, all the different characters. That just really cool characters, memorable characters that you see all the time.
You're making
And
me
then-
have a new appreciation for this movie now. The way that you're
Yeah.
explaining it, I appreciate your perspective on it.
I mean, it's like alternate dimensions and stuff like that. It's really cool. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I like, that sci-fi kind of feel. But with Pinocchio, I really like the story. So I like the fact that there was a guy, you know, Geppetto, who, you know, wanted to have a boy more than anything in the world. And so he built him, I mean, almost like a robot, but at that time as a puppet that, you know, came to life, but had to overcome all of the sins of man almost to try to become human. So he goes through, you know, being tempted and being honest. So it teaches about honesty and bravery and, you know, being smart, getting some, you know, understanding the world around you, things like that. And almost like becoming self-aware. So I still figured out a way to turn Pinocchio into an AI robot, but that's kind of the way I like that. I really like Pinocchio for that reason. So
I was going to
Pinocchio-
say that
go ahead.
Alice in Wonderland scared the Dickens out of me, but that joke doesn't make sense when you know, because Dickens didn't write it.
Well, who was it? Lewis Carroll, right?
it was Lewis
Yeah.
Carroll.
Yeah.
Pinocchio was a fun movie, but it kind of like I watched it again recently. It kind of freaks me out when they're in like the circus thing and stuff, and then they
I
go in the
know.
whale and
With
Yeah.
the kids,
I don't know.
donkey, they turn into donkeys and stuff.
yeah, and they're like smoking cigars and stuff. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
that looks fun, but I don't know. No, Alice in Wonderland was on my list too. I love that movie. I mean, just the Mad Hatter and everything. It's just so fun.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Let's see. Gene, what are some of your favorites from this time period?
I misunderstood the directions, but
That's all right.
That's
Name
all
as many as you want.
well, that's kind of how we do it, don't we?
Yeah. We
Yep.
don't need one or two. We don't have to limit ourselves.
5, 6, whatever.
Right.
No, I mean, there's from the 40s. I mean, there's so many that I was trying to stay away from the the ones that y'all were going to pick, just because, I mean, they're the classics. I will tell you that Fantasia scared the heck out of me when I was a kid. It really did. That's kind of a theme with me. I saw Fantasia once, and I don't know that I ever saw it again after that. I've seen bits and pieces. Wizard of Oz, which is not on this list, is not one of these movies. But I saw it as a kid, had nightmares about flying monkeys, and I've never seen it since. I'm not watching that. Devil show,
Yeah.
you know?
Flying monkeys are, that's not good.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
Gene, it's
go
really
ahead.
interesting you said that. So I was going to leave this for a separate category as my least favorite movie in this whole entire thing. And I agree with you. Fantasia scares
Here, it
still to
still
this
scares
day.
me. I don't like it.
Scares me. Like the Mickey's hat, the big blue hat, and the buckets, everything about it. The music is kind of like it's dark and scary. I mean,
I'm worried I'm
it's
going to drown.
it scared the daylights out of me too, and I can't watch that. And my family teases me about it because I'm scared to death of it. So I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Yeah, one I wanted to talk about though. I mean, y'all mentioned historical fiction when you're talking about your books, and Sword in the Rose. I mean, I love the you know the history, the intrigue, you know the dynamics, you know of the family situation, and when King Arthur pulls that sword out of the stone, and it's amazing, you know.
I have never even heard of this movie.
So
haven't either.
I'm talking about a different movie. That was
Oh,
a
well,
joke.
Sword in the Stone,
Jody
right?
got it. Jody got
They
it.
came
That was
out
a
in
good
the
movie.
70s.
Sword in the Stone
Right.
was good. I like that.
Yeah, it was. It was.
But what is
never-
Sword in the Rose?
I've never
I don't know.
heard of it.
Oh, okay.
I'd look it
I've
up.
never heard of it either.
Say 90% of these movies, I don't know what the heck they are.
Yeah, me either.
So the Three Amigos, the Three Caballeros, love it. But I don't know that I've seen it since I was a kid. I've just seen pieces of it. I love the idea of, you know, I love the ride at Disney World. I love, you know, that restaurant. I love, you know, that whole thing. And so, you know, that movie, I've got to say that's one of my favorites. The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Crane. As a kid, I saw that in the movies with my cousins, and I don't know, it's just a memory of that. It's just a warm memory for me, you know. I saw Davy Crockett as a kid, and
I knew you were going to talk about David
I knew
I
Crockett.
mean, I had a coonskin cap. I have pictures
Yeah.
of, you know, my brother and I in coonskin caps, and yeah, I mean, I don't even know how much of Davy Crockett I actually even saw, but I love Davy Crockett. I had books, I had a record, I had, you know, all the accoutrements, you know, and I'm going to stop there. I could
Nice.
go on.
Well, Davy Crockett, the theme song just sticks in my head.
Yep.
Well, it's just fun. I don't know. But no, I like Davy Crockett a lot too. I haven't seen it. Same thing since I was a kid, and
Yeah.
now I want to go back.
His gun had a name, Betsy. I love that. And everybody else is dressed up in Congress. Not him. He wore buckskins.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh man. Wow. No. So, Kevin, you said one of mine, which was Alice in Wonderland. So I won't talk about that one too much. But Treasure Island is not only one of my favorite books of all time, but I love the movie too.
Yeah.
Like it's so fun. Something about pirates and stuff. And that's I think why I like the Pirates of the Caribbean so much and everything. I mean, it's so cool how like little Jim like gets on this pirate ship and he's going to this island with all these pirates and all the kind of like politics in the background of the pirates, and it's just really fun. I don't know. But I feel like that one doesn't get enough love either. So it's kind of like one of my underrated movies too, but I'm going to put it in the favorite category because I really like, I could watch that movie all the time. I've tried to get my kids to watch it and they're just like, what is this? Just a bunch of like, high school kids put a movie together. Like, no, this was cutting edge back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no. So I think that's my favorite from that time period. But you know, Alice in Wonderland we already talked about.
Hey,
I don't
John.
know. That's about it.
I'd heard this before, and I might be wrong, but you know, I read a lot of stuff, you know, and it seemed like I read somewhere that Treasure Island had a significant impact on the way pirates are thought of, depicted, you know, that who wrote that? Robert Louis Stevenson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his the way he told the story, the way he, picked, what's the word I'm looking for? The way, he showed the pirates, that's not necessarily true. It's just the way we think of pirates today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not all of them have a parrot and a peg leg like Long John Silver, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Well, they should. You should have at least one on each ship. But also, we wouldn't have had Long John Silver, the fast food chain,
Oh yeah,
if we didn't have
for
Treasure
sure.
Island.
Yeah, that's that's great.
So
And we
Yeah.
wouldn't have hush puppies, and that would be sad.
right. Right. Just balls of dough. Amazing.
amazing.
God, just get those balls.
Hush puppies are fire.
They are. They're lit.
What I found really interesting about this list from 1937 to 1959 is how many of these characters or movies are represented still in the parks. So if you think about it, you can see Snow White still. I don't know about Pinocchio anywhere. Am I missing Pinocchio in the park somewhere? What? I'm sorry, Kevin, I couldn't hear you.
Small World. Isn't that Kyo thing, sort of?
Hold on. Wait.
What's
Oh,
the
at
name?
the restaurant, I guess the restaurant next door, but Fantasia, unfortunately, as in the Fantasmic show, Dumbo, there's the ride. Cinderella, obviously, it's her castle. Alice is out with her teacups. You've got, there used to be the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride, but that's no longer. There's unfortunately, a horrible restaurant called Tony's that has to do with Lady and the Tramp. I wish they would make that restaurant better. It needs to be better.
Snow
So
White.
Disney has her own castle out in Disneyland. So I feel like given the fact that this is all older, IP, it's pretty well represented in the park. I'm when I kind of look through it, I was surprised at how much was there. Now, like you and I, like we all said, there's some movies on here I've never heard of before. So I miss Peter Pan. Obviously, Peter Pan is in the parks too. But what about a movie on here that you guys think is maybe underrated or not talked about enough? Anyone have one?
I mean, I was going to say Treasure Island for me, because I do think it's just such a great story that that's one I'd like to see get remade, to be honest, because they've been remaking everything. So yeah, I think for me, that's
Treasure Planet.
They did redo it, didn't they, in the 80s or something? I can't remember, but the 1950 version from Disney is still my favorite. I don't know if I've even seen another one.
Yeah, I would probably say The Shaggy Dog. I've always loved that movie.
Me too.
That's one that doesn't get a lot of love, but they did remake it, I think, with Tim Allen, right? At one point, was it Tim Allen?
Somebody, I think you're right.
That sounds familiar, but I don't know. I've never seen the original.
One that we always watch in March is Darby O'Gill and the Little People. My boys like to watch that. It's about the king of the leprechauns, and it's pretty cute.
So when I was a kid, that used to come on the Disney Channel. Like we first got the Disney Channel. It was always on the Disney Channel all the time. A lot of these old movies were on the Disney when I was little, and so I've seen a lot of them and I say I was little. I was a little bit older. I had a little sister and a little brother, and so they watched. I watched a lot of those with them.
Yeah.
What I meant to do, but I didn't. So I'm very sorry for our listeners that I did not do my homework. But I was going to open up Disney Plus and see how many of these were actually available on Disney Plus. Like if you could really go see, Secrets of Life, which I have no idea what that's about. Like I keep thinking it's Secret Life of Pets, but it's not. That's not the same movie. But some of these movies to see if they were available on Disney Plus, if you could actually watch them. But I didn't do my homework, so I'm very sorry. But I had the best intentions. I just didn't.
I mean, if one of our listeners wants to go out and find all of these, watch them, and then we can have a follow-up show, get some good listener engagement. If you have 53 hours to watch all these movies.
I think Russ Reeves, when Disney Plus came out, do you know Russ? He's
from the Lizards.
I think Russ, I remember him putting on Facebook that his family were going through movies by the decade in Disney Plus.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was
Oh.
inspired. I looked through it. I didn't do it, but I at least looked through the decades.
I mean,
I
that
would
would be
say
great
Joe
for
Fickus
kids.
probably has pretty
That would
good
be really
knowledge of
tough to
each
go
of
through
these
all
as well.
that. I mean, whew, that's a lot of movies. And that's something you mentioned earlier, Jody, is that I mean we have 43 movies if that list is accurate, and I think it is. I mean, that many movies in 20 years, that's a lot of movies, especially the way that movies were made back then, frame by frame, especially with the animation. It's
Mhm.
unbelievable how much work went into like Cinderella and Snow White and all of those. And with the day and time it was draw every single character in that. I mean, anybody that tries to draw something so that the next frame looks, like it's sequential and that it all connects. I mean, that's really difficult to do. So,
Well,
very
and
impressive.
Kevin, that's a good point. Is like just the innovation that's there. Like if you've read
Mhm.
any of the like the Walt Disney biographies, and they talk about how like him and Ub Iwerks and these guys developed a whole like system with the different cells and different layers and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool to learn about. Just kind of how that was used until recently even. And then Pixar came along and everything else. But I mean that system of animation stuck around for decades.
All right. So before we went live, we were talking about a movie on this list that we didn't want to discuss. And Gene, you said you actually liked it. And the rest of us were like, no, you can't like that movie. Do you
What?
remember which one?
Oh yeah, Old Yeller.
Oh yeah, no, you can't like Old Yeller.
So
That's
I
like
have the
the
book
Debbie
too,
Downerist
and
of all Debbie Downer movies, man.
it's one of those books though that I mean, it's one of those movies. I read the book, the movie. It was upsetting and all that, but I mean, it's just it holds. It's yeah. Why do I like that? It's a great movie. I love dogs, man.
Yeah, everybody does. Well, I don't know the plot to it, honestly. I remember watching it in elementary school and I cried so hard that I never watched it again. Kind of like Gene, you were talking about with some of those movies
Yeah.
where you got freaked out or whatever. Just I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No.
would say what they allowed kids to watch and what
Yeah.
they thought was appropriate for children back then is a little bit different than it is now. It's like
I was going to say the same thing. I'm looking at the list, and almost every one of them is rated G.
Yeah.
Like even the ones that terrified all of us as children, and those are rated G. You can't
Yeah.
find a G-rated movie anywhere nowadays.
PG movie. You ever watched a PG movie from like when you were a teenager? And
Oh,
it's
where they had
yeah.
PG-13?
I can't show the
You're
kids.
watching. It's just a normal movie, and all of a sudden, somebody naked runs across the screen or something.
Exactly.
What is it?
It was a different
I don't
world back
remember
then.
It was a different
But
world.
yeah, Kevin, I've tried doing that with my kids a few times too. We're like, oh, I love this movie. And we put it on, I'm like, oh, dear God, that was a mistake.
Forgot about that part.
There's going to be some explaining and some difficult conversations.
Yeah.
But like I said, even Pinocchio, right? I mean, they're sitting around smoking
Yeah.
cigars, drinking
Yeah.
alcohol at like
Yeah.
10 years old. And it's just
Like
normal.
like we used to do back in the 40s and 50s.
well, I mean, yeah, we remember the little packs of candy cigarettes that you would get
Yeah.
at Halloween. I mean,
And you could like blow on them and like a little puff of
Mhm.
sugar would come out looking like
Yeah.
smoke.
no, I don't remember that part.
You don't remember those ones? It was like
Oh.
gum wrapped in a paper wrapper. And if you went, it was like powdered sugar would pop out. You felt so cool.
I saw somebody put something on social media a couple of days ago, with Halloween and everything, and it was still in the package, and it said Pall Mall on it, and it had a fake lighter even.
Wow.
Huh.
Man,
Oof.
yeah.
Jeez.
Times are
It's
different.
great. Different world back then. Different
Yeah.
world. Oh man. Does anybody else have like an underrated one that we didn't talk about that they think needs more love?
I was with you, Kevin, the Shaggy Dog. It's so silly.
My kids love that movie. It's so funny, especially the original one, the black and white version.
So silly.
Really good. Yeah.
Some of these, as I kind of dug into some of them, like I just wanted to see what was fun and fancy free, and that if you've seen it, you've at least seen parts of it, because it's animated, but it's got live action that connects to animation, and that's the movie that Mickey and the Beanstalk is in. I know you've all seen that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all seen that.
Yep. And there's something else, but I don't know. But yeah, there's just some of these never heard of before, and probably have seen. Westward Ho the Wagons. I mean, that's a nail biter right there.
It's probably pretty good though.
It probably is.
Maybe like some Oregon Trail stuff mixed in there. They get
Maybe.
dysentery.
People
I
have
don't
to
know.
eat each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
Victory Through Air Power propaganda film. Also, I've seen that.
Well-
I've seen that on. They used to show that stuff on like the Wonderful World of Disney.
Yeah.
Well, and I think back then, like Walt Disney, when they shut down movies during World War II, I think the Walt Disney Company started doing a lot of those type of movies because they needed to keep the studio running, right? So
Yeah.
they did propaganda films and stuff like that. So I don't know. It'd be fun to see some of those and see really what they were putting out.
My favorite. So it makes me think. The Wonderful World of Disney. It came on Sunday nights, and we had church on Sunday nights, so I didn't see it much. But by the off chance we didn't have church, or somebody sick, or whatever, something else was going on, and I watched that. My favorite episodes were the animated episodes that I don't know, talked about space, or I've watched some of those on Disney Plus, or there was one that talked about I don't know, the home of the future, and just different things like that. Those are my favorite because there's that subtle humor in there, and there's some education there too.
Some of the little videos they showed when we went to Sci-Fi.
Exactly. That's exactly
Yes.
right. Kevin and I shared a milkshake. And
We had our milkshake.
2 straws. Oh, I wish I could have been there.
Then it wouldn't have been the same.
All right. What about overrated movies? What do you guys think is like, it shouldn't get the type of love that it gets? Gene, do you have any?
I mean, that's hard because even you can't say that with the classics because they're classics for a reason,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I think any of them are overrated. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen every single one of them. Oh, John has opinions.
Oh, I think a lot of these are overrated.
Really?
All right, Cinderella.
The Light in the Forest. You think the Light?
What
in the
are
Forest
we
is
really?
overrated?
What are we teaching young ladies with Cinderella? That you have to go out and find a man.
Yeah.
And you have to get all dressed up. You have to go to the ball. You have to, charm the prince into liking you. And he's going out. He's going out picking out all these women. No, I don't. Honestly, I know I'm kind of saying it in a funny way, but I don't want my kids watching that and thinking, oh yeah, I need to go find myself a prince. No, you don't. Right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean,
I'm like team feminist, but I love.
You tell us about consent.
I don't like it. Yeah. He's like, and who wears glass slippers? Come on.
That's
right?
That's waiting to happen.
Exactly. It's terrible. And this poor girl is tortured by her sisters or stepsisters who are, but come on, her dad
You
passed
watched the
away.
live action Cinderella?
I love the live action one.
Okay. You just don't like the classic.
Yes. I really like the live action one. But no, I just feel like it's not a great message. And to be honest, it's kind of boring.
I like it. Sorry.
You like Jack, or what's his name? Gus, right?
I love Gus.
So there you go.
Yeah.
They're the best part of the movie, to be honest.
I actually also think that Bambi is a little frightening at times. No, I don't think it's overrated, but I think the beginning of that movie is, yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Thumper's cute.
I think I need to rewatch it. I don't even remember.
Flower.
I know how the movie
Fast
ends.
forward, just don't watch the first part.
Yeah, fast forward the first part.
Past all the death and no, I mean I think a lot of these are overrated. I mean, maybe for the time, like even Snow White, we watched it again the other night. Like that's one I can get behind. Like I enjoyed that movie. I don't know why, I just do. I think the plot is cool. I like how the fairy godmothers take her in and all of that stuff. Wait, I'm mixing up my movies. I'm thinking of Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I'm like,
sweet.
I know that plot line, and I don't think that's Snow White.
Why did I just think that was Snow
I
White?
don't know. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh my. Okay. Oh boy.
It's a
Jeff's gonna leave that one in there just to make me look like an idiot for sure.
It's hard to think. It's hard for me to pick out any of them that are underrated because they are classics. And
Yeah.
I mean, some of them you never heard of. So I guess those because they might have been a little overrated or just nobody really cared that much about them. The ones that rose to the top are the ones that have stuck around for almost 100 years now. So
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
And it's difficult too. Like even when we were talking about the ones that we think are underrated, like Peter Pan. I mean, I think that I love that the storyline and everything, and I don't know why I didn't list it as one of my favorites, but that's one that I think it gets a lot of love, but I think it actually should get more. Because it's got so many classic characters too, like Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, Captain Hook, Smee.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing.
It's an underrated movie, but an overrated ride.
That's probably why I didn't think of it earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the ride does like, who's going to wait 2 hours for that? I mean, come on.
People do.
People do.
People do.
The queue is the best part. I think we talked about this before, right?
Yes.
When they have like the
Yes.
shadows on the wall and everything, it's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. But no, Peter Pan is, I think it's underrated as a movie. Even though it
I mean,
does
you just
like
look at like back before we had Disney Plus and you had the Vault and all that kind of thing. You just see whenever they re-release one of these classics and the frenzy that happened with
Mhm.
going and buying the DVD and then the Blu-ray and then the digital edition and all those different things and
The laser disc.
the laser disc.
Dude,
And
do you remember the VHSs when we were a kid? They had the coolest case.
they had the best cases. It's
Yeah.
like they had a different manufacturer than every other VHS case manufacturer. It's just their cases were cool. They were white, puffy. They had lots of cool graphics on them, and
Mhm.
a lot of people collect them still. So
Yeah, because every other movie was just in that cardboard sleeve. And
Right.
Disney had the awesome like plastic case that
Plastic.
opened up.
so cool.
Those were the days. Now
Mhm.
everything's through Apple or Amazon or whoever.
Yeah.
Or, Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, yeah, that too. Tonight is not my night.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's a
Well,
Monday.
I think by the end of this series, we should all pick one of these movies and one of these one of these decades. We should all have to watch it together.
So that's right. So have you watched anything like done the party mode or whatever? on Disney
No,
Plus?
is it fun?
Yeah, I've done it with Lonnie and my friend. We did I don't know what we did. We did something, but yeah, it was the TV show. But still, I mean,
How does it work? Like, so you're all on a video call, and like if you talk, does the volume go down, or how does that?
So you watch at the same time. It's synced to where everybody kind of watches at the same time, and then we just messaged through our phones.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
see
We
each
just got
other
like a
like this?
chat. Say again.
I mean, when you're watching it, is it like doing Teams or like doing what we're doing now?
It's,
I mean, you
it's
don't
not
see
like
each other.
that, but that could be done. But it syncs it all everybody together, so they're watching at the same time.
I mean,
Okay.
seriously, The Littlest Outlaw or The Great Locomotive Chase. I mean, those could be pretty entertaining. We don't know.
Gold.
Yeah.
We don't
Gold.
know. We need to go back and discover these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should. Well, yeah, we got to just draw a random one.
I think that would be funny.
I do want to see the Shaggy Dog, though. You guys have really been talking that one up.
It's a good one.
Wait till the
Especially-
60s. The 60s had like 5 more Shaggy Dog DA, whatever, Nutty Professors,
DA.
all kind of stuff.
Oh man, the Nutty Professor.
60s were awesome with Disney.
See, that's funny. I had a hard time. Like I've already looked through that one when I was coming up with this idea. I'm like, oh
Mhm.
gosh, 60s are going to kill me because there's not a lot in there that I enjoyed. I mean,
That-
maybe the computer who wore tennis shoes.
What?
Yeah, Kurt Russell, yeah. So, but on the Disney Channel, they showed all those all the time. You know,
Wow. Well, Jody just kind of gave it away, but we're going to try to do this as a bit of a series, and maybe once every 4 or 5 weeks, go through the next decade or next couple of decades. At the beginning, there wasn't as many movies to choose from, but as we get into, like, say, the 90s, we might even need to break
Oh,
that up
man.
into smaller chunks.
And we're not going to make anyone watch Old Yellow. Yellow? Well, we're not going to make you watch that either. But we're not going to make you watch Old Yeller with all your tissues and have a cry fest, unless you just really, really want to be sad. So that's not going to be what we're going to take that movie out of the ones that we're going to look through for the 1940s and 50s because we just don't all need to be sad.
Do you know where I saw that movie?
School?
Yeah,
Yes.
in elementary
I did the
school.
same thing in school.
What
They
the
made us
heck?
watch it. It's like you weren't miserable enough. It's like let's really put it to them. Let's make them watch something.
No.
At Christmas time or something. Like that was like our
Exactly.
Christmas
Like,
special that we
and I had a dog that looked just like it too. It made it so even worse.
Oh, and I
I had
think
a
it was a
yellow lab.
reward. It was like, oh, you guys have been good. You get a movie. And they bring in Old Yeller, and like half the class is
big
crying.
projector. You know, did you guys have the big projectors that they had to wheel down the hall?
I'm not that old. We did have the big
Come on,
carts
Gene,
though
you know
with
what
like
I'm talking about.
a
Yeah, of
32-inch tube
Yeah.
TV that we thought was the biggest screen we'd ever seen. You know, because we all had these little tiny TVs at home.
Did you have the kind that was the screen and then the projector projected? You know, it was like a reel-to-reel projector
Yes, like a
and
reel.
projected into it. You know, oh yeah, those were excellent.
Yeah,
then,
and they
you know, then
wheel
the
it
normal-
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big roll, like a
Yeah.
big,
Mhm.
yeah, the circular.
You had to go to the library to go watch movies on that most of the time at my school anyway.
It was great.
Oh man.
Yeah. I rented a projector from the library one time when I was a kid and a bunch of old movies. Like a 1930s silent Tarzan movie and some other stuff. Just because why not? I was a nerd. Why not? You know?
That's kind of fun.
Man, you guys are really making me want to run out to Blockbuster and pick up a couple of these to watch. I have to make sure I rewind them though. I don't want that dollar
That
fee.
card, that Blockbuster card out.
Be kind. Always rewind. Right.
Yes. Oh man. All right. So we talked about a lot of movies here tonight and a lot of fun ones that I've never even heard of, like Shaggy Dog. So I'm excited to check out some of these, and hopefully our listeners can come and come to the Facebook group Disney with the Ducks and let us know what your favorite movie from 1937 and 1959 is from that first kind of 2 decades of Disney. So yeah, come on over to the group and join up and leave us some comments about what you think. But with that, we are going to move into an even more entertaining part of the show, if you can imagine. I know it's difficult, but we're going into Quacking Up with the Ducks. So, Kevin, do you got anything that you think will make us quack up?
We once in a while break a rule or two here and there. Did you know that there's one person in history that broke all the 10 commandments at once?
No.
You know who that was? Moses.
Because he broke the tablets?
Yes.
That was my
Moses.
oldest son's his joke. He told me to tell that
That
one
was
tonight.
good.
Nice.
Huh. All right. Jody, what do you got for us?
Well, we were talking a lot about books earlier, and for the most part, I get them from the library because I'm quite frankly too cheap and I don't like to spend the money on them. But I do have some that I keep up in the office. But you know, I don't really lend them out to people because I'm pretty shelfish.
Oh boy. All right.
On my shelf. Yeah.
I get it. Gene, what's happening, man? What's going on in your life that's fun?
I don't know if you guys know that, but you know, I'm broadcasting from a hotel room. I drove down to Baton Rouge tonight, and I wanted to grab something quick, so I pulled into McDonald's, and I figured, you know, I just grab a kid's meal and just eat it real quick. So I did that. Man, that mom sure was mad.
Oh gosh. Well, you know, we're sitting here in early November and Black Friday's coming up. So I'm already starting to see all the advertisements, right? One of them I got today said, you know, a 60-inch TV on sale for $50. Volume was stuck on full. So that's why it was on sale. I thought, I can't turn that down.
Nice.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. But a bonus one too. I'm going to see Metallica on Friday. And it got me thinking, like, what's a windmill's favorite kind of music? I don't know for sure, but I know it's a big metal fan.
Yeah, your other one was better.
I
You should have
well,
stopped when you were ahead.
I know, but then I got excited because I was thinking about this earlier.
That's good.
All right. Well, I guess with that, Kwaharini.
Bye, friends.
See you later.
See you guys later.
5-star reviews.